time again. You know what it is. You now tuned into the Recap with the GoodFellaz podcast, the world's most dangerous podcast. And you know how we do every week. We break it down, we chop it up, everything that went down during the week. And sometimes we just talking about stuff that's on our mind, man. That's how the GoodFellaz do. It's your boy, Tommy Guns, alongside my man, Sha Montana. What up?
What up? What up?
I see you, man. That's my man, Sha Montana on the road.
Hell yeah.
Dav Noble, what's going on?
Yo, what's good? What's good? How y'all feeling out there?
All right. Karev Ya, Heritage Hip Hop's own, what it is.
Peace and blessings. Happy to be here and to see y'all another week. Salute.
Right.
All right. Shout out to the homie Big A. He'll be in the building in a little while. And we can't forget the man behind the boards, my man Sajin, aka Mayhem Media, doing his production thing. Salute. But right now, we were shopping up behind the scenes. We were talking about the best bosses in a gangster movie or TV series of all time, or just our favorite, either or. You know, and mind you, this is not just, you know, Godfather, GoodFellaz. We're talking hood flicks like Belly. We're talking TV series from the Sopranos to The Wire, even Breaking Bad. Because on the low, that's gangsta. That show's gangsta as hell. We're talking about all-time best bosses or our favorite bosses. We're going to give you some of our picks. We want to hear from y'all. So make sure while you're watching this and after you finish watching this, leave us a comment, leave us a suggestion. Let us know what you think about our picks. So that being said, best bosses of all time in a gangster flick. We're talking movies. We're talking TV series. Dad, man, what's some of the best bosses of all time?
Yeah, man. I you know me. I know everybody's gonna say a few of the same people, so I'm gonna try to go out the box to a couple of names that I'm pretty sure nobody is going to mention. Maybe I could be wrong on the last one. So the first one I thought that was recent was Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk.
Oh, okay. The Kingpin.
Yeah, Kingpin. I liked his portrayal as Kingpin, man. I did like Michael Clark Duncan, but I felt that D'Onofrio's Kingpin, he was ruthless, man. Like, he was what I expected Kingpin to be. I mean, obviously he wasn't as big as Kingpin, but he carried a presence like the comic book Kingpin. And when he got mad and when he like beat people up, like you believed that he was tossing people around like that. Right. So you know, that was, he's not one of my favorites, but I know the favorites, what they're gonna be, you know, whenever you filter them out. So I'm gonna throw a couple of names out there. Okay. Another one, this is from an old school. Remember Adebisi from Oz.
Wow.
Yo, Adebisi had every dude, which was because Oz got real questionable real quick towards the last few years. But Adebisi for a time had everybody in the hood wearing their hats, in the back. Like, dude, like he was that character in Oz, you know what
Scully
I mean?
Tilt.
Word, Scully on tilt. So I gotta give a shout out to Adebisi. When he took over prison, that's when Oz got wild. That whole show just got wild. So, I got to shout out to Oz. And my last one is, I will say well, this is a twofer because I got him confused because I always get him confused. But De Niro in Untouchables is Al Capone.
Yo.
Untouchables, one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite like flicks in Al Capone. And I'm gonna leave y'all with Al Pacino as Big Boy Caprice and Dick Tracy.
Yo, he brought it back to Dick Tracy. Yo, shout out. Yo, I totally forgot about that movie until you brought it up.
I want him dead. I want his face like dead. I like that movie for some reason. I want them to redo that on Blu-ray because I need that in my collection.
De Niro definitely one of the best gangster actors of all time. I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely.
He played the role from so many different angles, and every time it was like thorough. Like, yo, Yo, shout out to Dick Tracy. Yo,
Boss.
cats don't realize, you know what it is? Like we were growing, I mean, that was way before our time. But if you look back like on, I guess, the Dick Tracy mythology or just like the characters they had, like that shit was straight. Like, I guess it was styled after the whole Al Capone Chicago era. Yo, like them cats was gangster.
Futuristic, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's something. There's a movie that they have failed because, yo, I swear, John Hamm, that is a play, that is a role that they wanted to recast. Like, yo, that dude could jump right into that role and play Dick Tracy. That would be crazy.
True. Karev, yeah, Heritage Hip Hop. We're talking all-time best bosses. It could be a movie. It could be a TV series. It could be hood. It could be mafioso, whatever. Who are some of your top bosses of all time?
I'm not really a movie person, so I'm gonna go to where I may not remember the person's names.
Okay.
So if you please bear with me. One of my favorite hood like gangster movies was Hoodlum. So Lawrence Fishburne, Tim Roth, like Dutch Schultz, and Lucky Luciano, Bumpy Johnson. That's one of my favorite. You know, another one was Armand Asante in the Gotti movie. I like that one.
I never saw Gotti.
That was a great movie. That was a great movie.
I never saw it.
That was one of the the way they captured John Gotti, and in the end scene where he's looking at himself in the mirror in prison. That was a powerful scene. That always resonated with me.
That's what's up. That's the throwback right there.
Yeah,
came out with a show for that too. Karev, where they where Forrest Whitaker I think it's Godfathers of Harlem or something show they came out with. Yeah, where Forrest Whitaker's playing Bumpy Johnson. I heard it was good.
I haven't seen that. The third guy, I'm gonna go offshoot for this one. If you ever watched the movie Blood and Bone with Michael Jai White, the lead mob boss type character who had a dialogue about racism in the movie, I thought that was more gangster than any shootout I ever seen, because they broke down society in a fight that was verbal, not physical. Okay. So that one, a smart man is more a smart man to me is more dangerous than a violent man, because a violent man can be taken out, but a smart man to tell people to fight his battles while he controls everything from his throne. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
so that's an ill quote right there.
Sure, you know what I mean?
So that's one. Of course, my favorite gangster in any movie ever is Nino Brown, Wesley Snipes, New Jack City.
Bro.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And last, for my number 5, if I had to pick, I will go offshoot again. This is gonna be bugged out, but if you ever played the game Mafia 3, the old man who basically told the main character, "Look, I need you to chill." And the guy was like, "Well, what if I don't?" He said, "Well, this is the only conversation we're going to have. So either you with me or you against me." That guy personifies gangster to me, because a real gangster doesn't have much to say. They tell you what it is and they carry on their business. So I wanted to go offshoot to throw a video game in there, do it a little different.
Mafia 3.
Mafia 3 is a very underrated story. A lot of New Orleans racism, Mafia. That was one of the ones that because I played Mafia, I beat Mafia 1 and 2, and then when I saw 3 had a black lead, I said, let me check this out. I wound up liking that game. It's pretty good. And you on some Django in that in some that joint.
It's a way to celebrate Black History Month. Download Mafia 3 and go crazy in the South. That's all I'm saying.
That's what's up. A video game. That's definitely out. That's definitely out the box.
That was a good list. Sha Montana. Speaking of gangsters, what's going on, man? Who are some of your top bosses in a gangster flick, TV series, whatever, of all time?
Can it also include real life gangsters?
Sure.
I mean,
it's real.
Yeah, go put Suge Knight in there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's
why not? Yeah. Why not?
Common sense.
It's the recap with the GoodFellaz, man. Yo, what's good?
All right, well, I'm going to start with Suge Knight and say this guy had a tremendous amount of power. The whole music business was afraid of him. He united Bloods and Crips, even though not for the better, but you know, he definitely had a lot of push from the streets. He, you know, he just did so much, man. He was so powerful and iconic, and was able to be part of some of the most, like, some of the greatest music that's ever been. Like, you could actually make a fictional movie about Death Row Records, and it would be so great.
Yeah.
Hell, the factual Death Row Records was insane. You know what I mean?
Even after Death Row Records, he still did gangster shit. Like he still ran somebody over during the Straight Outta Compton movie.
Straight running someone over, and
like he didn't know when to stop being gangster.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Okay, Suge Knight, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. Another one I'm gonna go with, and yes, this is cliche, and yes, this is, you know, obviously it has some type of cultural thing to it, is Scarface.
Okay.
You know, aside from the meteoric rise, you also look at the fact that the guy was really stood on his principle, you know, balls in his word, no homo.
Mm-hmm.
Very powerful. You know, went out there and took whatever he wanted. And you know, it's kind of an inspiration to me. I don't know if I've told y'all this, but I literally came on the same boat ride. That in the movie they have a fictional whatever, but the actual boat lift at the beginning of the movie and the political undertones at the beginning of the movie are real, and I lived through it. So
I thought I saw you at the beginning of that movie with the bandana. Okay, all right. I see you,
all right, so
yeah, you can't go wrong with Tony Montana. I mean, and what was gangster about him? Because I think people get it misconstrued. The gangster means heartless, mindless, thug, but like he had a moral code. So he wasn't just randomly, you know, creating acts of violence. When it came to women and children, he was like, nah, to the point where he risked his whole life, and his empire over his principles. So respect to Tony Montana.
Yeah.
Number 3 is it is one that's probably cliche. Somebody else probably got him, but I gotta mention him. Is The Wire, Marlo.
Oh yeah, yo, that was one of my picks. But yo, hell yeah,
another Scarface.
But why Marlo to you?
Marlo stands out out of all the gangsters in The Wire, because the other organization, what was it, Stringer Bell and all of them?
That's what I thought you would have gone with, to be honest.
Nah, you know what it is? When you really watch The Wire, like, they was kind of weak, relatively, because
the Barksdale crew was kind of weak.
Yeah, they were very weak. They were very weak, and they just weren't. They weren't. They had too many snitches in the crew. You know, they just didn't do their business right. Marlo was feared even by them, even by the Barksdale crew. Yeah. I don't think I have any more.
That's actually a solid list, though. That's a strong list.
Word, you cannot go wrong with that list, man. Yo, speaking of real gangsters, we can't go any further in this conversation unless we shout out the homie Big A in the building.
Word. What's going on, everybody? It's your man Big A. Glad to be here.
A man of few words, gangster. You know what I mean? Yo, hey, what up? Right now we're talking best bosses in a gangster flick or TV show of all time.
Or video game at this point.
Or video game, or hey, we even had the music business. So, you know, you want to throw a couple names out there real quick?
One of my favorites, I actually hated to see him go, was the bad guy in Breaking Bad, the guy who ran the Poyos.
Gus Fring.
Gus Fring. Yeah, man. Yo, Gus Fring, he was the smoothest, dopest, meanest, rudest, ruthless bad guy I've seen on any TV show. And he was so cool about it. And he was so thorough that he said things with a smile. and you knew that smile meant it wasn't a smile. It was worse than a smile. Gus Fring, I think, was one of the best. Then you have people in this organization, which I like. The nephew of the old dude who actually, spoiler alert, who Breaking Bad.
Tuco.
Tuco. He was another
Tuco
ruthless.
Salamanca.
Tight.
Damn, Tommy knows the name. Yo, Tuco. For people who never seen Breaking Bad, Tuco was almost as ruthless or just as ruthless as Gus was, but Tuco had a sadistic fun side about him. So he had fun. He took a lot of pleasure in the torturing and killing people in the most horrific way.
He was crazy.
Yeah. He was very sadistic, but he made it look fun. It's sad to say I didn't think I could say that, but he made it look fun, and what he did because he had a sense of humor and sadistic manners. Another bad guy that stands out, they really didn't do him as justice as they did in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Thanos. Thanos is definitely he's definitely a bad guy, a ruthless guy. He's a boss. He's the boss of like a lot of people, and he had more of a cynical side that they really didn't show too much. They kept him more of a calm, but he in the comic books he had more of a cynical side where even his smirk was like you knew his smirk was like, yo, it was gonna be
smirk was his thing.
Well, yeah, that was his thing. Like his trademark was a smirk, and you see that smirk, that's probably the last thing you're gonna see.
I feel like in the movies they actually kind of humanize him a little too much because in the comics, like he just don't give a fuck. Like he just liked to kill stuff. There was no balance. It was like he wanted to please death. So the more destruction, the more death, the better for him in the comics.
What I kind of didn't like about the Thanos portrayal and the Marvel was that I'm like, you try to make him about balance, which really didn't make sense to me to begin with. And I'm like, yo, when Thanos was the Mad Titan, like that cat just he wanted to make kill people, like he just wanted to like that for death, to appease death. So, but go ahead, big game, my bad. Well,
no, it's all good. It's all good. Now this is borderline. This guy here is borderline. He's sadistic and he takes pleasure in killing people and torturing people. His name is the Punisher, Frank Castle. He's borderline bad guy, borderline good guy. He's an antagonist. At times he does stuff for the right reasons, but we all know he goes way overboard. He goes overboard, and he enjoys it to an extent.
Shout out to my man Big Ed. Has another thorough list. I got a few picks. Number 5, I think Shah brought him up, Marlowe from The Wire. To me, I think he was one of the best bosses, just best overall gangsters that I've seen in a TV show. And to me, what was so thorough about him was that he was, like I said, he was calm. He wasn't talking a whole lot of mess. He was like the young dude on the come up, and he was ruthless. Like, yo, somebody need to get got. No feelings involved. Even when he knew, there was one point in The Wire when the cops started to kind of knock his organization. There's the young boy. They were trying to figure out who was the snitch. They couldn't figure out. They didn't know it was The Wire. But he was like, you know what? Get young dude, because honestly, like, yo, even if it wasn't him, you want to risk your future on it? And I was just like, damn, like that dude right there is gangster. You know what I'm saying? Number 3. Frank Lucas, American Gangster.
He was on my list.
Another like to me, when we talk about gangsters and all that, like what I respect is that it's not always like the loud rah rah rah, like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I respect quiet gangsters who they don't even want to bring attention to themselves. They're doing their dirt like on the low, and they're hoping you don't find out. Frank Lucas was just smooth, yo. He's smart, calculating. He wasn't just mindless violence, but if he had to shoot somebody on the street, he pop him, and it is what it was. You know what I'm saying? Yo, Frank Lucas, American Gangster. Number 2, Tony Soprano from The Sopranos. I'm sorry, this might be a little generic, but yo, to me, he was one of the best overall portrayals of a boss and a gangster. Not only because he was a boss, but because like he showed the human side. Like he wasn't always right. He couldn't always control his temper. There was time like, yo, at one point he was depressed and like almost out of it. Yo, he would just smash holes on the side. But like when it came time for him to do what he had to do, he would make it happen. And yo, he was just the combination of smart and gangster that I think is the epitome of boss. Number one, Gus Fring from Los Pollos Hermanos, Breaking Bad. To me, one of the best bosses of all time. Yo, like he was another one, quiet, ruthless, calculating. Yo, you wouldn't even know he was a boss unless you was that far in the game. My man was a manager at a food spot. Like you wouldn't even know. Like he was so smooth with it. But at the end of the day, yo, you fuck with him, man. Yo, box cutter to the throat real quick. You know what I mean? Breaking Bad. That's the GoodFellaz top bosses of all time. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We're gonna come back and talk more about this, but that was our list. We want to hear from y'all. See you on the re-up.